Hi, hello, hi, and welcome to All Our Hearts and Minds. Thank you again for tuning in. We're here to discuss all things that have been on our hearts and minds, the good, the bad, the concerning and uplifting, or just straight talk. We're your hosts, Kimi, our passionate heart,
Yeah.
and then there's me, Jeanette, our mind and chronic overthinker. Let's get into it.
Yes.
Okay, guys, we're back. It's been a couple of weeks. Labor Day weekend, summer ending, a lot going on.
Mhm.
Hope you
Mhm.
didn't miss us too much, but we're back again with a new episode post summer Labor Day festivities.
Mhm.
Um and before we get into anything, let's start with our checkup. How was your week?
My week was okay. It was back to school,
Mhm.
and we survived the first week. And
Amen.
yeah, it's an accomplishment. Trust me. Because it's hectic, and
Yeah,
everybody's
yeah.
back slowly getting back to normal. Last week
Mhm.
was a short week, so it was a little bit slower than it would normally be if it wasn't so soon after the long weekend. But anyhow, it was a nice week. Nonetheless, I can't complain. I got to meet my daughter's teacher, and she's quite happy with her class. She's in grade 6 now. Can't believe it.
Woohoo! Wow, grade
Right?
6.
I know, right? And so she has all of her buddies with her in her class that she's gone through from grade 1 till now.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm excited for what the year holds. And it is coming to an end, though, but still, what the school year has to hold. But either way, it was an all right week. Short weeks for me, I feel like it's torture. So
Oh, because the work feels like it's
yeah,
piled.
it's like double the dose. It's like, geez, man. I'm still on long weekend mode. Like, calm down. But you know what? We got through it. So God, God, God willing, He got me through that one. So how was your week, girl? How was your week?
My week was good. It was yeah, it was short, but I think the culture of the office that I'm in, a lot of people, they take the first couple of days back. They take it slow, like they might take half a day to like take their kids to school, get ready. As you said, as a parent, it's a lot to get that first day of school, all the prep that goes in. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes you're not able to do it all within that week before, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so you just kind of just take it easy those first couple of days, and I'm sure it's probably hard for the kids to adjust to the schedule.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I would just, long story short, say that the week was quiet, and I think this week was just quiet because a lot of parents were just adjusting to
Mhm.
their new schedules, and so a lot of people were working from home and stuff like that, or doing half days.
Yep.
So
This
I
is life
expect,
for the next little while, boy.
yeah,
Jesus.
so yeah, right. So I think it's good if you're in a company where you can ease into it and you have that flexibility. Yes, do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I do expect next week the traffic to come back for real. The real
Right.
fall
Not
season is going to be
looking
here.
forward, but yeah.
So traffic is going to be real. Like this
Oh
week, I
my
even drove
god.
into work this week. I normally
Whew.
take transit, and I was like, oh, I'm surprised. I thought usually it would, and I don't leave super early, so usually
Right.
it would be really bad traffic wise, but it didn't feel like that traditional 100%. So next week I think it's going to get real.
Yep.
But yeah, this week is good. This week I got to see Usher on Labor Day Monday. I went to see Usher,
Yay, Usher.
and let me tell y'all, Usher, he still got it.
Yep.
Mr. Raymond, Mr. USHERRAMOND.
Right.
Yeah, it was a really good show. Really glad I went. It was, well, I will say what I was surprised about was the show. I don't know why I would have been surprised. I should have thought, like, I don't know, but I was like, it was a little bit, I would say, mm, because there was in the group that I went with, there was a one of them brought their daughters, and I would say that's the young lady couldn't be more than 11. I'm stretching
Mhm.
it. The most she could be is 11 years old, and she was there, and I was like, this show. So I was more conscious of the content of the show. So
Right,
there was a
right,
few scenes that were pretty sexual and stuff like that, where I was like, yeah, it's amazing, it's fine, but with a somebody a child like a girl who's definitely very young girl, I would say, a little bit advanced. You know,
right.
I would rate it R rated,
Oh wow. Okay.
not and not in an explicit or disgusting way, but I think it's just like, I think with the
Sensual.
yes, very, which is normal. Like I think it was classy, but then
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I mean, but although he did bring okay, he did bring some elements of the Las Vegas show, and one of those elements is the stripper pole, and
Right. Right.
he does have two songs where they have like stripper like performances.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not explicit, but it could be considered. There's room for somebody to call it explicit to me. Like, we've been
Right.
watching BET videos since whenever BET got to Canada or whatever, but so over at least 20 years. But yeah, so I was just gonna say it was a little. I would say it was a little more R rated for. I don't. It's not a kid show. Let me be thing. What I'm trying to say is it wasn't a kid show, but there were kids, but not a
Right.
lot, right? But listen, there was only one kid in our booth. I don't know. I didn't see a lot of kids like walking around the venue at school, the concert arena
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And another thing was he how do I say this? He's
Hmm.
real. What he's good. Okay, so this is my first time seeing Usher live, but
Mm-hmm.
he is really good at. This is a packed arena. It was packed, okay, and he's really good at making catering to an arena that I don't know how much Scotiabank Arena, maybe 20,000, 30,000. It's not one of the
Mm-hmm.
bigger ones, but 20 to 30,000 people, and he made you feel like he saw us. We were in the box seats. I was like, Usher said hi to me. I don't care what none of y'all say. He really played the crowd. It's a big
Right.
crowd. He each section, the left to the right to the center. He really played them, and he had two stages that he went across too. So it's like the
Mm-hmm.
people that were close, like I was closer to the front stage, but he also went to the backstage for a handful of songs. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is not something I think a lot of I would assume this is something a more mature performer or people who know how to put on a live performance will do, but it's really important that not everybody does that. And so I think it's really important that he makes sure that his people who came paid to see him, they
Right.
feel like he saw them and you saw him. It was like so really good concert. I do recommend. I was a little bit worried because I heard a couple of things, but I was like, no, it was for what it is. It's amazing. I'm not expecting Las Vegas in
Right.
this show, but for what it is, very well. The dancers, everything, the outfits, amazing.
Wow.
And he had the roller. He did the roller skating. I was happy.
Okay.
I didn't send Kim any of the video. I posted them on my Instagram, but yeah, I have to send you a couple. Yeah, it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay,
that
Mr.
was the
Roller Skate
highlight.
Man. Okay, Usher.
Yeah, Ursher. He did it up. He was here in Toronto for 2 days. So the Monday was the first day, and he was there on Tuesday as well. I don't know if it was out as packed on Tuesday. I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday is a weird time to do a concert, to be honest. But yeah, Toronto got some Usher flavor, and
Okay.
everything else this week was okay. Like I said, I took it easy and just like I need to get ready for my trip. I was like, oh, this weekend I'm gonna do my hair. I'm gonna pack. I'm gonna do this. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
shit. Like, listen, I don't even have. I pretty much have like 90% of the things I'm gonna pack, but tomorrow, which is a Sunday, I'm gonna just throw everything out on the bed.
Right.
Thank God I have a spare bed that I could just spread everything out,
Right.
and so yeah, but yeah, I mean, you know what? Shoot, it's
Right.
one way or another is gonna happen, whether it's hectic or it's organized.
Yes.
It's-
Yes.
yeah. So
However
yeah,
it works. That's all I'm saying. However it
yeah, that's
works.
how it's gonna be. So yeah, all right.
Well,
So
Mr.
honestly,
Usher. Okay.
mhm.
Well, I would love to see Mr. Usher one day. One day I'm gonna catch him because he don't ever look like he's in the age. He looks like he's in shape. He's staying on top of his
Looked amazing.
game.
He looked amazing. Yeah, and the theme actually, I wasn't sure, but so the theme is kind of like a career retrospective. Like I think it's called Past, Present, and Future. I believe is the name of the actual concert. And
Oh,
so there,
okay.
it's not like strongly put it there, but by the end of it, I get the elements where each of the segments he'll have like he had some AI version of himself speaking, talking about okay, this part of my career, blah blah blah, I did this and that, and then by the end there's like a screen where they have different versions of him. Little Usher when he was in the Yellow and he was working with Diddy, and then they have um My Way Usher, and then they have the different what do you call it, eras, let's call it the different eras of Usher.
Right.
And then they have the AI, they're using AI to have him speak to like the script of I've been through it all, but da 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 da. And it was a good little tie up in the end, and he ended of course with he ended with that song. That's a perfect song to close out a
Yeah.
concert.
Yeah, I think yeah, that sounds like a nice arrangement.
Yeah, so
Thought out. Well thought out.
so if
Mhm.
anybody was debating, it's a good show. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Okay, so it sounds like we're doing all right. We seem to
Yeah.
be, we're getting through life. No, everything's good. Into the headlines, just a quick reminder that hopefully, thank you guys again for tuning in, of course, and checking us out and listening to the podcast wherever you listen to it. Just a reminder, we'd love to get see you guys add, give us our stars, give us 5 stars on Spotify podcasts or Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you listen to us. Please drop a note or add a star. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in. All right.
Yes.
Now that we acknowledge our wonderful listeners, we're going to jump into the headlines. And first, we're going to start with something local to us. Canadian politics are definitely not as exciting as American politics. I could say that hands down. But
Yep.
we don't have the personalities of a Trump
Right.
or anything, or even the media. The media build up a narrative around politics is just a lot more conservative here than it is in the US, regardless of who's running.
Right.
The only reason I think the world, not the only reason, but one of the big reasons that the world is very familiar with Trudeau is, again, he's kind of like, he was touted as kind of like the heartthrob premier, heartthrob. He's not a president, he's the
Prime Minister.
prime minister. Yeah. Thank you for filling in. I was like, I
That's
drew a
okay.
blank. I was like, Kim, help
That's
me.
okay. That's okay. I was like, I paused with you for a second. No, he's the prime minister. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a prime minister, but whatever. The head of the nation, or the figurehead of the nation, is, and the news globally was, oh, he's this handsome guy and he's younger than the average head of a nation or whatever, right? But anyway, that's why I think a lot of the world, even if a US people who talk about Canadian politics, is Trudeau, right? It's the first time I've ever really seen them talk about a Canadian prime minister that much. Anyway, so long story short, we have three main parties in Canada. So we've talked about this when we were talking about the US election. And
Mm-hmm.
we have the Liberals, which would be the equitable part. It could be equated to the Democrats. Then we have the Conservatives. Obviously, they're equated with Republicans. And then we have a third party called the NDP, National Democratic Party.
Yep.
And so this party is typically, but obviously we have three parties, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to be either one of the Liberals or the Conservative. And the NDP party, but really where the role that the NDP party usually plays is that we have something, I think I'm getting too down in the weeds, but basically,
No,
NDP,
you need to explain it because
you need to explain.
no, the reason why is because it's vastly different than the American politics. And
Yeah,
so
so
we
I
do
just,
have one extra party other than like with the states, they only
yeah,
have two
yeah,
major
so we have to
parties,
set
right?
that up. But the
Yeah.
main role, and I said new, it's actually called, um sorry, I felt like I called it the wrong thing. I called it the National Democratic Party, but I think it's called the New Democratic Party.
Right,
So
that's
sorry
correct.
for like not. So anyway, but what the role that this third party plays generally, it is a more left leaning. So those are the more middle central ones, and it's a little bit more left leaning in that they want to help the people more. They I
Yeah.
would equate it to the ideals of Bernie Sanders in the
Right.
US. Like they want to help the people, social services, yada yada, all those great things to so the people that nobody's left behind essentially. And so
Exactly. Yeah.
but the role that they play between the NDP plays between the two giants is that whoever the NDP aligns with in the House or in the Parliament, as you guys say the House, we say in a
Mhm.
Parliament, when we're
Mhm.
trying to pass bills and legislation, the parties have to vote, right? And if there's not enough votes in one party, whoever the NDP aligns with
That's right.
is most likely going to be that party's going to win out with the majority of votes and stuff to pass
Yeah.
some type of legislation. So that's the main thing
Yeah, it's
I
like
think
a
we need
two
to.
on one type
It's
of
like it
thing.
becomes a 2-on-1. Yeah, right? And so yeah, so 2 years ago, 2022, the leader of the NDP, which his name is Jagmeet Singh, made an got went into an agreement with the Liberal Party, Trudeau's Liberal Party, to pretty much align with them on, I guess, anything that the liberals, don't take this with a grain of salt, but the basic level of it is, if the liberals want to pass something in the House of Parliament, a bill, a
Mhm.
legislation, some type of agreement, this agreement, Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh's party agreed that they would pretty much be aligned and work together to ensure those things get passed, right? So it's
Mhm.
almost like guaranteed. Before, you have to put it in the House, and maybe the NDP can agree or not agree. But now, it's
Exactly.
based on this agreement, they're saying we're going to agree with everything that the Liberals put through to get passed in the legislation.
That's
Legislation.
yeah. Mhm.
So I think that's the main basic way to explain this agreement. So this
Yes.
week in Canada, the NDP leader Jagmeet Singh
Shook it up. Shook it up.
came out and said that this agreement is null and void.
Yep.
He's killing the agreement. He's
And he
abandoned.
said multiple times he tore up the agreement.
He tore it up. Yeah, I didn't see the video. I think there was some
Yeah, I
social
heard him
media.
say it about 7 times. So I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that we said it for him.
He tore it up. He didn't only like end the agreement. He tore it up.
Tore it up. He
He
made
is
sure he told us he
he
tore
this
that
is
shit
over.
up.
He made a show of it. This is
Okay?
like a power move, and there's a lot of elements just outside saying that he doesn't agree with what the Liberal Party is doing or what they're trying to do is one thing, but I also think there's another element of this where, or angle on this, is where election we're due for an election in the next year or two.
Yeah, I think 2025. If I'm
Yeah,
not, yeah, in
yeah.
October of 2025. Um,
So there's also another political reason outside of not just
yeah.
making it easy for Trudeau, is that time he's going to be running as well in this election for his party to be, you know,
Yeah.
elected.
Yeah.
So he himself, it is in his best interest to separate himself from the Trudeau government, especially since everybody in the world should know by now, if not the whole world, I know America knows that Trudeau is in the shitter.
He is so down deep in
Trudeau,
the shitter.
Canadians are not happy with Trudeau.
No,
Americans
forget
probably,
about
I
it.
think so. I've seen some Americans that aren't even happy with
No,
Trudeau.
because he's doing stupidness, man. He's doing
Um,
stupidness, and what I wanted to say
yeah,
was uh, what I can appreciate about what Mr. Singh did was, because I can't pronounce his first name over and over again. I'm sorry,
yeah,
it's a tongue twister for me.
yeah,
So Mr. Singh, what I liked was that he strategically backed away from Trudeau,
yeah.
because if you look at either side of it, it doesn't matter how you flip the coin. Trudeau is not somebody you want to stand beside right now.
No, not right now.
He's just not. 75% of Canadians want him gone. They want
Mm,
him to resign. They want him out. They don't give a shit. They just want him to leave. And backing away from that obviously is a smart move for the NDP party.
mm-hmm.
And also under the pretense, because I do think politics is one big lie, if you
Oh.
ask me. But whatever, under the pretense that he is standing for the everyday man, and that Trudeau is aligned with big business and
Mm.
corporate
Interests.
interests, and so he wants to back away from that and side more with people, because at this point the people are going to vote him out, one way or the other. So
Mm.
that means strategically you're aligning yourself with the people, and
Mm. Mm.
that's where you should ultimately have been. I don't know why you allowed us to struggle and know that Trudeau cannot stand up to big business. You called him weak. You called him all sorts of things. Okay. Names being thrown left, right, and center respectfully. I've heard that word about a dozen times on every newscast that you could possibly imagine here in Canada. Let me tell you, respectfully this, respectfully that. Bull crap. You want to tell the man you're only here, you're only siding with the Canadian people because you don't want to be voted out. You want to be able to stay in the game.
Mhm.
And right now, you have more pull than the NDP party has had in a very long time.
Yeah, it's true. Yep.
Very, very long time. And they want to hold on to that. Now, there's a whole lot of things being thrown around left, right, and center respectfully. They're saying he wants to, make sure he can live out to his pension, which is $2.2 million. He's doing this, he's doing that. But at the end of the day, he's made a stand. And that stand speaks volumes. And it speaks volumes against Trudeau. Trudeau is already in the shitter, and this just made it worse because this is kind of unprecedented in
Mm.
in Canadian politics for him to not only did he sign this and that he would stay with Trudeau up until I think next year's election, but you're pulling out in such a dramatic way. But what I did want to mention out of this whole situation is I've
Mhm.
been watching Trudeau.
Yeah.
Okay. And Trudeau told us Canadians the other day that he's not concerned about politics. Uh
What?
huh. The politician,
What were
right?
they
Uh
asking
huh.
him about?
They were asking him about what he felt about Mr. Singh pulling out,
Oh, okay, okay.
and he was saying basically that he's not concerned about politics right now. The
As
politician said he's not concerned about politics right now, and that he's focused on helping the actual Canadian people and doing something. Well, it's too late,
it's too
Trudeau.
late. Why do you need to do something, Trudeau?
I don't understand. You should
Uh,
have did something, if you ask me. But you've been pushing this carbon tax for
oh
corporate
yeah,
greed,
jeez. Whew.
right? This carbon tax is eating up people's, like, people can't live. We're the joke, worldwide of we're renting out rooms, beds over Yessaw.
You
We
have to
are
share a
renting out
bed to rent.
beds.
You have to rent to share a bed.
You have to rent to share a bed. Okay? That's how bad rent is over here, and mortgages, and the demand for housing. There's so many issues that Trudeau is just not addressing. And
Yeah.
for you to tell me as an American, as a Canadian, that I you're not paying attention to politics right now. So what you doing? What you doing, sir?
Literally your job.
Okay, and so Mr. Singh said, deuces, you out on this limb by yourself, Trudeau. And he is definitely. And
Mm.
the Conservative Party is coming for his neck. And I'm really interested to see what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
What is it?
Jagmeet.
Jagmeet is
Hmm.
going to do. I really want to see, because he's set himself up in a position where if he thinks through to the long game, it could be beneficial for him.
Of course. No, that's what I'm saying. It's like on one hand, it's like yes, it looks heroic, and he's like not gonna be stand by the corporate greed and all this. But on the other hand, there's a lot of personal interest for himself as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that I'm not judging him. He does need to listen. If you want your party to have a standing chance in the next election
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
not get obliterated by the conservatives,
Right.
yes, he needs to distance himself.
Right.
So I would just say in general, here's my general feeling. The NDP party, like you said, has had resounding success for the last couple, like success they've never seen for the past couple elections. They've
Yeah.
got a lot more votes than they typically normally get. Like I said,
Yeah.
listeners, it's usually between the two parties, and this party is just, it's kind of like the equivalent of your Green Party, but a little
Right.
bit more power
Yeah.
in the US, right? And so in that, we nobody expects them to win, but they have some influence.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I think Jagmeet has brought a lot of energy to, that's what I'm trying to say, is that Jagmeet
Mhm.
Singh
Yes, he
has
has.
brought a lot of energy to this party, and I think is a part of why it's been gotten a lot more votes than they typically get they've typically got historically beyond the past two elections. And so I love this decision and what he's doing as a politician. I think he's very he's doing a very good job, and sometimes I wonder if he was white,
Uh-huh.
if he would be more, if he would actually, if they'd really get that win. You know what I mean? Would the NDP actually win a federal election with the
Well,
energy that they have? I do, because no, in all seriousness, I'm gonna ask you, and you let me know what you think.
yeah.
I'm on the fence. I think a lot of people like him. He has a lot of charisma. I like what I see when I hear him speak and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just wonder, do you think because he is a, not only is he Indian, I believe he's Indian, but
Yes.
he's
Seek.
Sikh. He's Sikh.
Yeah, to be
Which,
yeah.
and he wears, he wears a traditional Sikh head gear
Yeah.
garb.
Yeah.
So do you think that has anything to do with more people voting for him or not?
Um I do think that it has a part to play, but not necessarily in the respects that you might think. Like
Yeah.
I think that it's actually on his side
Yeah.
that he
Mhm.
is not white.
Mm.
Because like Canada is
Mhm.
very multicultural, and
Yeah.
specifically in Toronto,
Yeah, specifically in yeah.
right? Toronto, and in Vancouver, and different pockets
That's in
there is
Vancouver and Montreal. There's
multiculturalism.
some pockets,
There
and
is,
now
but here,
Alberta, a little bit of Alberta
a
now.
little bit in Alberta. Well, everybody moving out,
Yeah,
so
that's what
yeah,
it's.
right. But for the most part, Toronto is extremely multicultural,
Yeah.
and a lot of people want to see someone different.
Mm.
They want to see someone different, and they want him to look like us. Now, when I say that, I don't mean his actual attire.
Mm.
I don't mean necessarily even his color, but he presents as something different than just the typical white man that is running. Okay,
Mm.
he represents the multiculturalism of Toronto
Mm.
and of Ontario. And so I can see a lot of people just want to see someone other than a white man, and so that could be beneficial because
Okay.
there are a lot of Indian people that live here in
Yep.
Toronto and Ontario. The
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but the population is steadily climbing, and it
Mhm.
has been for at least a decade now
Mhm.
of it steadily climbing. And so um I think it could benefit him. However, there's a lot of white people in power, a
Mm.
lot of white men specifically in power, and there's this narrative that that's what Canadian politics looks like, right? And so I could see it hard. Maybe it could be a little bit of a negative thing for him that he's not white, but he is close and adjacent to,
Yeah, I agree.
right? He's
That's what I'm
close
saying.
and
It's hard for
adjacent to.
me.
So I could see it happening in both ways where it could be a good thing and a bad thing. But here's what it is actually driving force for the NDP party
Mhm.
is that nobody likes the corporate big world business. Nobody
Mm.
likes the fact that these billionaires are staying billionaires while everybody else is suffering. And
Mhm.
so this is a year, let me tell you, I feel like Cat Williams brought this year in the right damn way when he
Whew.
said that the truth will be released this year. And so a lot of people are seeing the nonsense, right? And they're seeing that, wait, hold on, you're gouging me while you're giving tax breaks to huge corporations that are already billionaires. They're already you're helping them to get rich while we suffer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and on top of that, our immigration, it has skyrocketed. And I'm sorry, but not the best of the best is coming to Canada no more.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the immigration laws have changed, and so there's a different caliber of people who are coming to Canada, and I'm sure the United States can agree,
Yeah, it's the same thing that's going on in the U.S. Yeah.
right? And it's worldwide, it's affecting everybody really.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's fine, we can handle that. However, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the money,
It's
we don't
happening
have
too fast.
it's too you we're not even up to demand yet. We haven't even reached the cap of fulfilling demand.
Mm.
Okay, so I think, the NDP party, for me right now, they are the tiebreaker. They are the
Mm-hmm.
ones that
That's essentially
really,
their role.
their role is to be the tiebreaker, and
Yeah.
their role is to stand on one side or the other and support one side or the other. Well, now we know that Mr. Singh here has called Trudeau out. So if Trudeau wants to stay in power in October 2025, okay, then he better change up some shit real quick. And the
Mm.
things that Mr. Singh had problems with, he needs to go fix that and rectify that real quick fast. Okay, if he wants him to even think about staying in his direction, because what I will say is that it wasn't definite and it wasn't strictly defined that he is totally done with Trudeau. What he said is that I'm done with this deal,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we don't know if Trudeau pulls up his bootstraps and changes things, he might have the vote. But I'm
Mm.
sorry, the Conservative Party and the Canadian people, 75% of us, you know, don't want you there. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. But what is very fascinating is that this party has never had this type of power and control ever,
Yes,
as
that's.
far as
Mhm.
I'm concerned.
Yeah. As far as I know. Yeah.
So, but it's, yeah, but we'll move on. This
Yeah.
is
Well.
politics in Canada.
Yeah. We
It's
don't
not
get to
as,
talk about Canadian politics. There's not a lot of drama, so this is drama for us. This
this
is
is
our drama.
drama. Because this is unprecedented that he did this.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody
So
has their eyebrow raised. Trust me, respectfully. I heard that damn
respectfully.
word so many damn times. They're being very vulgar with their words to each other, but they put respectfully in front of it, and it's supposed to make it okay. Like I saw one of the
Yeah.
interviewers and how she was talking to Jagmeet Singh, and I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay. Oh, but she put respectfully. So, so we gonna be all right.
We gotta be all right. You add that. Trust me. Add that respectfully. We're all good.
But we love that respectfully up here in Canada. Trust me, it's too much.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that's we'll see how that goes. We're gonna have an interesting year.
Sure will.
um so yeah, we'll keep an ear out and talk about it as it unfolds. All right, so we're gonna move on from politics, and we're
Yes.
gonna move on to revelations. I don't know why I'm calling it revelations, but I'm gonna call it revelations.
Okay.
And so there was an article that I came across about a week or two ago, and I wanted us to talk about it on the show. And they say it was revealing. It was pretty much the Rolling Stone did an article um, talking about the last few years of rapper Craig Mack's life. It's so funny because I actually, from my mind, I don't know why I thought he died in around COVID, but he actually died in 2018.
Yeah. Yeah.
He died in 2018, and I was like, see, that was a quiet death because I didn't know, but maybe I think I didn't find out that he passed until 2020 when another bad boy artist passed away. I think it was Black Rob. Black Rob,
Oh
definitely. I
yeah.
think it was Black Rob passed away sometime around in the COVID period, and the dark days.
Right.
And so, and then maybe that's when I found out that Craig Mack had passed a few years earlier. And at the time, it was of his death, it was reported that he died of congestive heart failure.
Yeah.
And I mean, we just, if you think about it, I think he died. How old was he when he died? He didn't die. He was not old. He wasn't that
I
old.
think he was like 56 or
Oh no, actually no. Listen. 47.
47.
He was only
Okay.
47. 47 with
Wow.
heart failure,
Right?
congestive heart failure at
Sad.
47. That's crazy. And
Sad.
he wasn't a big guy.
No.
He was, you know what I mean? Like
But
certain,
it was other things. It was other
there was other
things.
things. So pretty much the Rolling Stone article reveals that his actual cause of death was complications from HIV/AIDS. And
Wow.
I think they decided the source of that article, I believe there were some sources close to Craig Mack that were involved in the article, and I believe that news was going to come out
Mm-hmm.
shortly anyway, so I guess they decided to put a fuller picture of his life together and what his last 10 years of his life were. And from what I've gathered from the article, it's paywalled. The article on Rolling Stone is paywalled, so I couldn't really get into that, but
Right.
they do chronicle kind of how he had his rise to fame with Bad Boy, and that in early 2000, around 2004, he moved away from the music industry and got quite religious.
Right.
That's not an unheard
No.
path. It's understandable.
Yep.
And but anyway, the song, since we're talking about it, he's known for "Flavor in Your Ear." That was his big Bad Boy song. It was massive,
Mm-hmm.
and he was early. He's definitely should contributed to the early big success
Sure
of
did.
the Bad Boy flavor. But anyway, so when he left and went to religion, it was some kind of cultish religious group, and that's why he
Mm-mm.
never sought treatment for his um condition, which now
Mm-hmm.
we now know is HIV/AIDS.
Yep.
And the thing is, with HIV/AIDS, you can live in
Long
2020
time.
in this era, you can live a long time. There's lots of people living with that if you take medicine. You
That's
do have
right.
to have a there's a whole regiment
Yep.
that people with this condition take to improve their life, and they can have they have a decent good life if they
Yeah.
follow through with that regimen. And because he was a part of this cult, an extreme religious group, they don't say, I don't see the name of it because I don't
Mm-hmm.
have access to the article, but they said the church was run by a last day prophet who believed the barcodes bore the mark of the beast and warned about imminent third world war. So it was one of those very unconventional type of religious groups, right?
Right.
And listen, there's lots of them, but you know
Sure
what?
is. Mm-hmm.
The Bible says, there is more. You have to take advantage. God blessed us with medicine and science,
Right.
and they say prayer without works
Is
is
dead.
dead. That's what they say, right? And so I wish, so there are some, listen, these religious groups pop up, there's lots of things, but I think when people think about, need to, like, when you talk about discernment, we talk
Right.
about discernment, and there are multiple. This is not the only religious group. There are even legit, quote unquote, legit religious groups. Like I think
Right.
some
Yeah.
factions of Jehovah Witness, or who
Mm-hmm.
don't believe in, like, quote
Separating
unquote,
the body, like the body parts and
yeah, like
um
certain things. So
yeah,
it's not
medical
the first. It's
attention.
not just
Yeah.
cults that, so quote unquote, cults that do this. But I think I always think of that word when I hear about those type of policies or beliefs in some of these religious groups. It's like, yeah, prayer alone, yes, prayer, but there also has to be work done as well, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, unfortunately, he
Passed
died
away.
of complications because he was not being treated for his condition. And it just made me think of, you remember we were talking about this, and
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like, yeah, he passed in that was very quiet. First of all, I didn't even recall them being a big hoopla when he
Right?
passed. Otherwise, I would know he passed in 2018 and not during COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they acknowledged this person had passed away, and created this whole thing to celebrate his life and what he'd done for the music industry and whatever, I would not have things. So and that tells me that he passed quietly. They wanted it to be hush hush.
Yeah,
And why
pretty
is that? Now
much.
we don't know why. Well, now we know, because
Okay.
people listening, if you don't know, we know AIDS and HIV has a stigma, but I would say I would say it's 10 times worse in the black community.
Yep.
In the black community, mm, there
And
are
that's
people.
a and one thing I wanted to mention is that nobody knew. Nobody knew. And I understand him wanting to live a private life and
Yes, yeah.
not really just like, yeah. I can understand him wanting his privacy, but in the
Mhm,
same breath, I know that there's a lot of men that are in the black community who have HIV or AIDS, don't say a word, and go around sleeping with every Tom, Dick, and Harry that they can find. And I just hope that that was not Craig Mack's, like, how he responded to having
mhm,
HIV and AIDS. A lot of people
mhm,
do are in denial. They don't,
mm,
and they go along living their life as regular. And unfortunately, a religious group will kind of give you excuse
mm, yeah,
in not addressing and taking care of your illness. And so I don't know. I don't know. It's very sad that we're now finding this out, but I know that the family wanted to keep it a secret
yeah.
because,
Just rather respect for him. He didn't want anybody to know.
no,
So
it doesn't seem like it. So I hope he was responsible uh when he, by not, not telling anybody, not saying anything. I hope he was doing the right thing and being responsible um with himself. And so R.I.P. Craig Mack. Your song was phenomenal, and unfortunately, you fell victim to P Diddy.
okay, yeah. Well,
So,
that was also a part of probably him going to religion. So actually, okay, I found something that wasn't behind the paywall talking about when he learned about his diagnosis, because again, the family's a part of the narrative
mm-hmm,
now. And his brother said that he learned of his Craig Mack learned of his diagnosis before he left his hometown in 2007. He took his two children and traveled to South Carolina, where he joined the Overcomer Ministry. So that's the name of the ministry that he was a part
mm-hmm,
of. By 2014, Mack had already shown signs of his health failing after he lost a drastic amount of weight and was frequently sick. He originally told people he had congestive heart failure. He was hospitalized once and took medication, but didn't seek out any further medical treatment. By
see,
2018, Mack walked with a cane until he became bedridden. His family drove down from Vermont to spend a few days with him and say their goodbyes, and then he passed away at 47.
wow,
Um, but okay, so there's a documentary. His wife, so Hill Johnson, hopes to answer some of the questions in a documentary she's developing with Alvin Toney, and
mm-hmm,
who recorded Mac's final interview before his death. So there's more to come, and
yeah,
maybe I think I okay, we're gonna move on. But what I'll say is, like we just already talked about the stigma, but I'm glad that the family
right,
has control of his narrative, and that they're gonna put his story out, because his story needs to be told.
I agree.
It's not right that he died quietly, and like you said, because of his fractured relationship with the bad boy, with Diddy and
Mm-hmm,
Bad Boy, everybody pretended like this guy didn't exist and his life didn't have any value. He should have been celebrated like everybody else
I
from that
agree.
label that has passed away. So I'm glad to hear that they're working on something, and we're going to hear more about it. So R.I.P. Craig Mack, and
Yes.
you know, we're looking forward to hearing more of bad or good, how your
How?
life
Yeah.
came, yeah, how
Well,
life hashed out for you.
exactly. Yeah.
So we're gonna move on to our girl Money Long.
Yes. Miss
Money
Money Long.
Long was hours and hours and Money Long with the hits,
Yep.
R&B hits, hit maker. So she recently revealed on a radio interview that she is her marriage is coming to an end and she's getting a divorce. They've been married for 9 years.
Jeez, man.
And she
Mister.
revealed that her new album that's coming out is gonna talk about some of that. So I'm excited. Listen, I know we don't want to
I know,
glorifying anybody's pain, but we know these type of relationships is
right?
when you get the classics. So I'm excited for the album, but also,
True,
obviously
true.
not happy that, her marriage has come to an end or anything like that. But
No, no.
so she said that, when asked about the divorce by the interviewer, she says, I don't have time for nonsense. This is one of the most amazing times in my life. And if you can't celebrate that with me, I'm so sorry. But I'm going to have to leave you behind. I cannot. You wake up every day mad, and there's literally nothing to be upset about. We have a beautiful child. We're good. We might owe some bills, but everybody has that. And then she finalizes in saying that, I think it takes incredible strength to realize that was the love of my life, and at one point in time, and he probably could be really good for me if he got it together, but I'm not willing to put my life, my passion, my happiness on hold for you to catch
Amen.
up. Unfortunately, you might get it in a year, but I'm sorry, I'm probably already over it. And what was interesting, why I wanted to read that, is like, we hear about divorce. 50% of marriages end in divorce, unfortunately. So it's not
Right,
unusual, and I think it's probably even higher in the entertainment industry. If somebody were to do the stats, I wouldn't be surprised, right?
right.
However, I think she articulated it perfectly. She didn't have to, but it's good that she was open. Maybe that's to tell you how over it she is. She can
Yeah.
clearly articulate what the
Mm-hmm.
issue was on a
Yeah.
public radio show.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because if you guys don't know Money Long, she took a long time to get to where she is. Like right
Sure
now, she's
did.
crushing it. She's killing the game. She's had at least three or four like viral like earbugs. I call them earbugs. You get If they
Mm-hmm.
get into your head, good luck getting rid of them until a new
Right?
song
I
comes,
know.
until a new earbud comes. And she's had a lot of great success, and she's been everywhere. She's been winning the awards, all the accolades. And I've seen a few interviews with her, and I know the first couple of times when I didn't know her as much, it was like only when she had that
Mm-hmm.
first song that was going really crazy in the early COVID areas, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, she has a husband, because she just seemed new.
Right?
I didn't know much about her until I looked her up, and she's been with him for a long time, and da 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 da. So he was with her all through to this peak right now that she's at. If we talked about When we were talking about body image, we talked about Money Long in that episode. Money Long has changed her appearance.
Sure has.
Money Long used to be a little thicker. I don't think that was really she wasn't like big, but she was a little thicker. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest physical change, and it's easy to not easy, but losing weight is quite doable in so many different ways, whether you
Right.
do it naturally or otherwise. But I think the drastic change in her appearance was really her nose for me.
Right.
That nose job is very,
Yeah,
very,
it's very in
I would say,
pun
yeah,
on in
I
your
would
face.
say that is the most drastic. I think the nose job, and I think she did something with her chin. So two things where her appearance, it still, if still looks like her. If I look at those old pictures, but I would
Yeah.
say she did some facial things that changed her look. And anyway, beautiful woman either way. And now she did that change, and now her songs are getting attention. And like I just said, she blew up, and it's kind of hinted at in that statement that her husband, I'm assuming based on the statement only, doesn't seem like he could handle that. That
Well, uh, there seems to be a problem with a lot of men being able to deal with their woman's success.
mm,
So him, I don't know. It doesn't really surprise me.
mm. It doesn't surprise you that her husband of 9 years was like acting up after she got crazy success.
No, it doesn't surprise me. No,
Mm,
because we've been seeing more and more of that as of late, and
mm,
when you create a war between men and women,
mm,
right? Uh, and it's we see it all the time. We see the imagery. We see people arguing back and forth. We see, people being not treating each other the way they should be treated,
mm,
and there's a power dynamic that's a constant in a relationship, right? And
mm,
so Good relationships, or healthy relationships I should say, the power dynamic is very fluid. It goes back and forth between the two. Sometimes in relationships like this, when a woman starts to access too much power or more power than their man,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be as simple as she can pay the mortgage and you can't,
Mm-hmm.
you know, those simple things add up. And maybe there were times where he felt like he sacrificed for his family, in terms of his career,
Mm-hmm.
or he had to put certain things on the back burner because of his family, and now she's propulted forward, and that could be hard to swallow. It could be hard to swallow for some men in their pride. But like I said, I've been seeing more and more of this lately. It's unfortunate, but she has to choose herself and her children. Do I want her marriage to end? Of course. I never like seeing, broken families or broken homes. I don't like seeing that. However, that resentment will build up and will build up, and you never know where it could go. So she's doing the right thing by walking away. Now, is he doing the right thing? No, because your success is a mutual thing. So when
Yeah,
you do well, it's I shine.
and they actually share a label together. I was just reading up on him a little bit. His name is Ray Sean Harrison. They actually created a label together, and she's like obviously the head star, but he's a part of. He writes songs with. He's a songwriter as well. So it was very much a collaborative
Yeah, but she
business.
was getting a little bit too much shine.
Well, clearly, yeah.
Too much shine was on her, and so it's hard to some men, it's hard for them to deal with. It's hard for them to swallow it. It's hard for them to look beyond their pride and their ego, and to just understand that she wins, I win.
Mm,
you know um a lot of the time men are more comfortable with them doing just a little bit more of the winning.
mm.
you know um but the light was shined on her, and she's changed
Oh yeah, definitely.
physically. She's changed, right? And so, you know it's sad to hear that that's the reason why. But I find that, when I look at the entertainment industry, or just in generally speaking, that sometimes it's very hard for women to have it all. It's very difficult, and it's very difficult for Black women to have it all.
Mm.
Um, do I think you can? I think
Of
so.
course, yeah, for sure.
I think every woman should aim for that, to have like fulfill their dreams, and whatever that might entail, and still have a family and be a mom or a wife or whatever it might be. However, it's the opposite partner that you have to make sure is comfortable and secure within themselves, that your success will not, even if you shine brighter than them, they will just stand under your light.
Hmm.
Know that you have that type of spouse, right? I think as long as it was them together, it
Hmm.
was okay. But when she started to step a little bit too far into the light, the shine was too bright for him. Yeah, it becomes an issue. It becomes a problem. um yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, we see this all the time. We just saw this with the we're about to talk about it, aren't we? The Ghanaian,
Oh, the runner, the Ugandan. Well, I don't.
Ugandan. That's right.
Yeah, she ran for Uganda. I don't know if she was Ugandan, but she lived in Kenya, and this incident happened in Kenya. She her last name is Cheptegei. I can't remember the first name right now, but yeah, the woman who she was coming home from church with her two kids,
Mm,
and a jealous ex, or who knows. Well, I won't call him. Who knows what it was? An ex,
right?
regardless of whatever personality. Doesn't matter what they were feeling. Um, Threw gasoline on her and set her on fire, and a few days later, she died of organ failure.
Okay. And this
And
is
that is
because of
like,
her success.
well, yeah, well, that's what it looks like. That's what it looks
Well,
like. There's no other reason. I'm sorry. There's nothing. There's no reason to do that. Even if
None.
no reason. If she moved on, who cares? She moved on. There's no reason for you to take her life.
Exactly, but
Um.
she was too far into the light.
So.
She was shiny, too shiny. But
Mm,
yeah, but you see, I mean, we're seeing it more and more, so I'm not really surprised, but what I am glad to see is that she is moving on from it and that
yeah, and
she
she
is
seems at
handling it in a
peace.
healthy way,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
what I respect about her in this situation is that that she doesn't need my respect, but what I'm seeing is that yeah, she seems to have a very mature and adult perspective on it, and I like that she's sharing that. It's like you can have all appearances, it looks great, she's a top of the world, she's married, she has a child and everything, but she wasn't happy, and her
Exactly.
husband was not trying to
No.
contribute to that happiness, and she said, okay, deuces. I can't be living with this
No,
misery,
I'm not
and
going
I love
to.
that for her. So yeah, well, kudos to Money
Well,
Long. She has an album coming out. Can't wait to hear it. And
me too.
yeah,
Me too. Support your
so
girl. She needs the support right now.
she needs it now, right?
Mhm.
So we're gonna move on to an interesting story about Damon Dash, aka Dame Dash, former CEO, or at least big
Mhm.
time contributor to Roc-a-Fella Records, which was responsible for the how Jay-Z's first album, Reasonable Doubt. And Dame Josh came online and told everybody, he's like, listen, I'm selling my portion.
Right?
I'm auctioning off my portion of Reasonable Doubt
Okay.
and rock whatever, and it's connected to Roc-a-Fella in that the album that was like the label of that album. I don't know, it's weird business wise, but let's just say it
Mhm.
stakes in the real value is the album Reasonable Doubt and not necessarily Rockefeller, right?
Mhm.
So he's selling his third of his stake in the company,
Mhm.
and he said he put it on auction, and the minimum bid is 1.2 million.
Wow.
This auction follows years of Dash attempting to sell his shares, and now it's come to this point to this forced sale.
Okay.
He intends to use the proceeds to cover some debt that he's in right now. Is he's this
Mhm.
guy, he takes a lot of chances, and there's nothing wrong with that, but after a while you need to get smart with the chances you take. I think he takes too
Right?
many chances. I think we all know, I clown him, but we all know he knows something about business. That's for sure. We can't say he doesn't know nothing about business.
No, he
But
does. Yeah,
he
like
does, but he takes a lot of chances. That he takes more chances than I think he is smart. And I would think by this time in his experience in business that he would be better at this. So yes,
right?
that's what I'm trying to say. So so yeah, he put it on auction. The last I saw, Jay Z's lawyers tried to halt it. I don't know how long they can halt it, but last time I read, it was halted for another week or two in the
Right.
court. And what I read, I don't have in front of me, but essentially what I got from the understanding is that Jay Z is trying to halt it because in 2031, Jay Z is going to get all his rights to his masters to that album, Reasonable Doubt.
Right?
People don't know sometimes. Some people don't know sometimes. Even if it's a lifetime deal, a lifetime is usually described as 25 to 30 years. So for some artists,
True.
after let's say 30 years, they can get the rights back to their they can own their masters essentially. The record company can own it because that's just usually how those deals are done back in the day. But now, after a certain time, they can get it back. Obviously, over time, things deprecate, value decreases. But somebody like Jay Z, that's his first big album. That value is pretty much solidified, I think, in terms of records. I'm
Oh,
pretty confident.
definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's not like you know what I mean. It's not like a throwaway pop song album.
No.
Like so, you're right. That was his first album. That's his baby, and Jay Z wants that shit 100% back.
Sure does.
And he
That's for Blue Ivy.
Yeah, and legally he will get that in 2031. And essentially, Jay Z's lawyers is letting the world know whoever's going to bid on this shit. Okay, you can own this for about 6 years. So,
Right? And then I'm coming
and
for it. I'm coming
it's
for
going to
it.
be
I
then
know.
it's going to be mine. So it's almost, and that's a good point because listen, all the people who are getting excited, I saw a lot of rappers getting like Joe Budden, and there was even talks of Drake being interested. All these people are getting excited about it, but it's like one thing is like you're only going to own it for 6 years.
Right? But
So it's
I guess what Dame Dash is trying to say is, but I'm gonna get my piece though. I'm gonna get my piece because I can't rely on Mister Man
oh
here to
yeah.
give me
No,
peace.
he's not going to get it. Yeah, and Damon Dash, it makes complete sense. That asset is going to be have no value in 6 short years.
Yeah, and he wants to make it damn near
and
difficult. He
and he
wants to make
wants to
it
get
hard.
some and he wants to make something out of it before
Yeah,
he loses
yeah,
it, which
yeah.
so from his point it makes sense. He has issues, he needs money. Sure, it's not going to belong to him in 6 years. That makes total sense, but I'm thinking of the buyers.
True,
So whoever is seriously considering buying, you're not going to own you're going to own it for up until 2031. What are you
and
gonna
that's it.
do? And there's not enough to do with it in that. Well, I don't know what you could. There's not enough to do with it in a 6 years because it's a partnership. It's not full ownership of the masters. You still
Exactly.
need to be in agreement with the other two, which is Jay Z, and I can't remember who the other person who owns the other third. So yeah, so that's the drama. Dame Dash always has a piece of drama,
Always.
always, and he said that after the court thing came out, he said they can say what they want. This shit is for sale. You're not buying a copyright. You're buying a piece of a company, Roc-a-Fella Inc. Please, only serious inquirers only. Sounds like a desperate man, but
Sure does. Just a
um,
little bit. Uh, things is getting hard. Things is getting tight. Okay,
yeah.
because
I was trying to see if there's any update on that because yeah, I mean 1.2 million obviously for somebody like him. I think his debt is like 800K. They're saying this particular debt he's trying to deal with. I'm sure he has more. It seems like he has other stuff going on, but to be
yeah.
auctioned,
Well.
yeah, it's going to be auctioned by feds to pay off lawsuit debt,
Oh
and it will be
wow.
auctioned on. Oh, okay, no, because this is the late article. It said it's going to be auctioned on August 29th, but I think that was the one that was halted. So still don't know. To be confirmed how that goes.
Right?
I think if he's allowed to sell it,
He
he
is
will get.
allowed to sell it, and he can sell it, but it's going to be difficult for Jay Z in the long run, you
Yeah.
know. But I think that's what he's mostly focused on is, yeah, he's paying off some debt. I don't think that Dame Dash is that hard up. I don't
Yeah, I'm
think
saying he can't
so.
eat right.
I actually
Hope
no.
not.
Let me retract because some people live beyond their means.
Oh, it's
So
common. Yeah.
right, so it seems
I
like
think it's more he's in debt on paper. You know what I mean when I say he's in debt on
so
paper. He
that's
has
why I
shit.
don't feel like it's really for the dead. Like I feel
Mhm.
like it's more I don't want to say for show, but I want to say like it's more like I want to stick it to Jay-Z.
Yeah, but he does. This is a federal auction though, because to cover, he does have a case that he's like he owes a production company $800,000, and
You don't
so
think he could pay that
I think
on his own?
it would hurt him though.
Yeah.
I
No,
would
of
hurt. It
course.
would
Eight
hurt.
hundred
It would
thousand to
hurt.
anybody would hurt anybody.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think he has it. I think he's not that he doesn't have it. I think that, but he's like, listen, I have liquid assets. I'm gonna liquidate
true.
those assets and not hurt my cash flow.
True.
Yeah, that's what I
True.
think it is. Yeah, to your point. So we'll see how that goes and how much it goes for. I hope it doesn't go for too much in that like it's not really worth that much. If you were gonna own it outright, that 33% outright for the rest for another 20 years, sure. But 6 years, yeah, it shouldn't get more than 2 million.
No. No. No.
Okay. So we touched on this already about the Ugandan runner.
Yeah.
I just want to get her name right. I'm not going to spend much more time on it. because we already touched on it, but
Yes, yes.
just to acknowledge her. Um, so her name, yeah, Rebecca Cheptegei. She was a marathon runner, and she participated in the Paris Olympics. She was there doing her thing as a professional runner, and she was severely burned about a week ago, and she ended up dying from her injury. She was only 33, and she had two children. And the police said the man was his name is Dixon Endemia, and
Mm-hmm.
he was
AKA Devil Man.
a devil, satanic dude, man, a devilish man. Because why would you do, like, of all the ways?
Honestly,
Listen, kill, even going to bother the woman in the first place is
I don't
insane.
even get it. I
But for you
can't.
to do that, and her children were around,
To
like,
see
what?
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ooh, so police are
Right?
still investigated, but they were arguing a little bit before they attacked. And then he entered her home with the jerry can. But I'm like, how me if I you know when you hear certain stories and you're like, how, like, so he just ran in the house with
Right?
a
You
thing a
ran
thing
up
of
on you like
gasoline?
that, girl? Like shit.
That's what I'm saying, girl. Like, you needed to, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, how quick he must have had that match ready to. I
He
don't
was
know.
ready. He was ready.
Woo! That just seems very planned.
Yeah, he was ready. He was.
Oh,
First of
they
all,
said,
to have gasoline on you, where you getting that from, bro? Like
yeah.
you had to cognitively go to the gas tank or to the gas station and pump gas into whatever container. And with the thought to throw it on someone?
So they're
Okay.
saying that her father has said to the press
Lord
that
Jesus.
they had been arguing. They're involved in a property dispute,
Yeah.
and
This is
the
over
father
property.
had reported concerns to the police about him intimidating Rebecca, and accused the police for taking the matter for granted. So her father went to the police about concerns because the man was harassing her already because it's a
Uh-huh.
property issue. I think she had a couple of properties in Kenya, and maybe the guy is entitled. Who knows? But either way, she didn't deserve this. So you know what?
No.
Rest in peace
And he
to
felt a way
Rebecca.
that she was able to pay for it. That she was able to actually that he couldn't just take it from her and run. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
Like she's actually putting up a fight. And I think maybe that didn't sit well with him.
no, exactly. So femicide is an issue around the world, but it's funny because this is not the only story I've seen with a runner from East Africa.
Right?
This runner, Rebecca, is from Uganda, but she lived in Kenya. But the other ones, I don't have the names in front of me. They were Kenyan runners, women that were killed by their partners
Okay.
because, you know.
We'll see. That's what I'm telling you.
But rest in peace to Rebecca Cheptegei. You did not
Yes.
deserve this, and I'm
At
praying for her
all.
children.
Yeah, and that they get the
Woo.
help that they need and that Lord Jesus, that give them peace. Um, because this is a lot to see, a lot to know, and now they're without their mom. So,
Mm.
you
Woo.
know, that
Yeah.
that's the part that gets me.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay, it's one thing if you want to, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not by any means saying that domestic violence is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But couldn't you just go there and like try to box her up or something? Like why are you trying to burn her alive?
Like, that's why that's what you said, satanic. Like, what the heck?
Right?
What kind of
Come
what?
on now. Like I'm not saying any of this is right. But I'm sorry, if she got boxed up, she'd be alive. You know?
Mm.
Like I'm not saying either one is right. But like I wouldn't think that you're totally demonic if you went there and tried to hit her or something versus try to set her afire.
Mm.
No, you didn't no, you did set her afire. That's the part that gets me.
Mm.
Like you doused her and then lit a match? Okay.
That's
Yeah, we're dealing with
chaotic.
a sociopath.
Phew.
Okay, so yeah,
Um.
crazy.
So yeah,
Lord
that's
Jesus
our
for her children.
RIP to her
Jesus.
in the running communities in shambles right now. But hopefully they can. This is
Ooh,
something that needs to be addressed.
yeah.
So that's it for headlines.
Immediately.
Quick thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go into too much detail because we already had some technical issues, so time is short.
Yeah, yeah.
Just was gonna say I'm watching this show, crazy show on HBO, and the guy that did Tiger King is a part of it. So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need to know. If you got
Right?
locked into Tiger King,
Yeah, yeah.
check out Chimp Crazy on HBO.
Oh
Tanya Haddix
gosh.
is a character, and I will leave it at that.
Okay.
Preview. There's chimps. There's Botox and there's McDonald's. Let's just say those three things,
Wow.
and y'all go watch the rest.
Wow.
All right, so we're gonna move
Yes.
into our Wagwan for real, and this week we are talking about something that surfaced online, some online beef, if you will, that popped up with Ice Spice again, and it was involving a artist called Cleotrapa that she's quote unquote friends with. I won't say I'm saying using the word friend very
Very
loosely,
loosely.
but that's just to introduce the story.
Right?
And she invited Cleotrapa to go on her tour with her this summer, and from some of the clips that she went on TikTok, and it's kind of like the who did I marry, who the f did I marry,
Right?
Risa Tisa. Like, this girl's very good at storytelling. From the little clips that I did see, I'm like, this girl knows how to tell a story. um but Cleotrapa is, from my understanding, was invited very short notice. What is it, like a day or two, to go on tour with Ice Spice in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And from her sentiment, she felt that um it was in her mind that, okay, she's going on tour, she's a part of the tour.
Right.
So if she's a part of the tour, she's going to have somebody to help move her bags. If there's food, if people are buying food, like, she's a part of
Right?
the food budget, like these little things, right?
Right.
Somebody to
Jesus.
move her performance, her costuming and stuff, right? That
Have to
seems fair.
specify these type of things, but yeah.
And if the
Mm-hmm.
crew is going to eat, that she's going to eat as well. And so,
Well, it was Ice Spice specifically that said she would take care of her.
yes, that's I think that's an
So,
important point to bring up. When she spoke to Cleotrapa, she had that use. I don't know the exact wording. I'm sure in the video she uses exact wording, but the sentiment was, "You're going to come on tour. You're going to be looked after. Don't have to worry."
yeah, I got you.
So if somebody tells you that, you're not going to be worried about the short notice, because you're like, okay, I don't need to worry about the big details with my
Right?
team.
Well,
Okay, I think I
Cleotrapa
can.
said in her like sixth video rant,
Yeah.
or that it was the day before this actual tour was to start, and she called her out of the blue and said, "Hey, do you want to come along?" And so Cleotrapa did actually say, "Okay, well, so can I have this person come with me? Can I have my team come with me? Can I, this, that, and the third? You wanted me to just follow you around for a month?" And then I said, "No, I want you to actually come in on tour and sing and do what you do." And she asked, "Okay, so what do I have to pay for? What is it that I'd..." So she was trying to take care of business, and then Ice Spice came and said, "No, I got you. I'll take care of you." She did say that if you're going to bring anybody else with you, like your team, that you'd have to pay for them. And she
Mm,
was willing to do that, but then Ice Spice said, "No, don't worry about it. Just come along with me. I'll
mhm,
take care of you. You can stay in my hotel room. You can use my hairstylist."
mhm,
So, Ice Spice, you shouldn't have said that if that's not what you meant,
mm,
or if it was at a cost, you know. But anyways, Cleo, I think that she was young, but she and I side with how she feels.
mhm,
You could, we'll explain further, I guess, what it is that she feels, but she's
mhm,
slighted by her experience with Ice Spice, and
mhm,
their friendship is over. And to be quite honest, I understand that you're young, but if I were your friend, I would have said, "So what the hell? You don't have a brand to protect. You don't have a name that you're trying to uphold. No,
You
we're
get
just gonna
quality
go.
control.
You put it all in her court. She's never ever supported her before. But all of a sudden now she wants you on tour. Now you're gonna use her hairstylist, sleep in
Yeah,
her.
honestly,
Come
and
on,
as a
man.
young, I like that point you're bringing up. Is that well, first we have the context of why she
Yeah,
decided to go, and then now that they're having this fallout, we're seeing all the behind the scenes where it was like a fake friendship and
yeah.
all of this stuff or whatever, right? But because was it sometime last year the same there another artist by the name of Baby Storm was talking about Ice Spice and a similar type of vibe as this
Hmm.
story. So I think maybe that's why everybody's kind of like side eyeing Ice
Yeah.
Spice right now. But there was two incidences where there was an incident where Cleo Choppa said, "You know what?
Right.
I get the message. I'm a dip out now."
Right.
Which bothered me in that she said that, like, to your point, we agreed, da 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 da. I'm going to go on the tour. She's under the assumption that things are being looked after.
Right.
They're leaving a show, and she wanted to get her bags from the venue to the hotel. So they said that she was not she was like, "Oh, is the security gonna like take our stuff to the hotel?" And she's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, they're not paid." And basically, they're not paid to
Help you.
help
Hmm.
you. And I was just like, it seemed like it was fine, but then she brought up a good point. If Ice Spice said, "Yeah, take Cleo Choppa's bags," nobody would. I don't think the security would
Nobody would
be
have said anything.
like, right.
Or
So
if
that
Ice Spice said, "You see all those bags right there? Please put them on the bus."
yeah, like that. So that's where I was like, you know what? At first, I was kind of side eyeing the whole story, and I was like, this seems like a way. Everybody, it's attack Ice Spice Day today, right?
Right.
But then I was like, the more and more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I don't think if I don't think the security went to Ice Spice and said we're not taking her bags, like, you know what
No,
I
I
mean?
I
And
think. Hmm.
if they did, no, 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 you're taking her bags. What are we doing
First of
here?
all, nobody's gonna talk to Ice Spice. Nobody is gonna say nothing
Yeah,
to her. Okay,
that's true.
nobody,
Yeah, yeah.
because they work for her.
Mm,
So they're gonna do what it is that she says to do.
yeah.
Okay. Now this seems like some ghetto fabulous tour that's going on here. Like I don't even
Yeah.
understand it. This is supposed to be a celebrity. This is people who are, holding Ice Spice at a very high standard in the music industry, and for some reason you don't have people who could pick up her bags. Like, miss me with it. She was being intentional. Now, what I'll say about Ice Spice is that she's never, for me, I don't like her.
Hmm.
I don't hate her, but
Hmm.
I could take her or leave her. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Her music is average at best.
Yeah.
She cannot rap, okay, to save her life. She has a strong team behind her, right?
That scene. Whew.
Yep, she has a big force behind her, and
Hmm.
so for me, I think that there's some colorism there. Not because of what I've heard, but she
Mm,
just seemed, there's something about Ice Spice I can't rock with.
mm,
My spirit doesn't gravitate to. I don't like her. Um, and maybe it's because there's some colorism going on here. And maybe my spidey senses is heightened
mhm.
because I am a dark skinned black woman. And so I feel as though she only uses dark skinned black women as a token in her friendships. And look how she does them. You know what
Well,
I mean?
that's the narrative now. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, one dark skinned girl, two dark skinned girl. I mean, are we not creating a pattern? I don't know. The two of them are saying the same thing. I don't know. There could be
Hmm.
some truth to it. So I don't gravitate to her. But what I will say is that she deliberately did this. She did.
Mhm.
You brought her there and then you left her high and dry
Yeah, it's giving
without.
Mean Girl. It's
It
giving
is.
Mean
It's
Girl.
giving
Hmm.
Mean Girl. First of all, if you really, like I was telling you before when we were discussing this, if she really intended on good for her friend, then she would have said, "Bring who you gotta bring. This is your moment to shine.
Yeah, as a
Bring your
friend,
makeup
if you're
artist.
doing
Bring
this
your
as a,
yeah,
it's
yeah."
business, but you're still like looking out. Like the way she's positioned is like, yeah, at the end of the day, you still need a professional. But if you want to, if she's a professional, you know your friend's a professional performer. You know your friend needs at least a couple of people,
At
whoever
least
that
can
is.
she have her own makeup artist? Can she have her own hairstylist? Like, come on, if you really want to see her do well and you really want her to win, then you're gonna set her up for success and not failure. And I feel as though that's where it started out. And I think that where Cleo went wrong was you tried to take an opportunity, you expected a lot from it, and you
Mm.
didn't understand what her "I got you" meant. You didn't understand what that meant.
Yeah, you in
And
business, you need to clarify. I got you is a
yeah,
very passive. That could
d-
mean
got you
so
with
many
what?
things.
I got
What
you
you
with
got?
a
What
McDouble?
exactly do you
Like, what the
got? Let me
hell?
know.
What you got? The hotel
I need
room?
to budget this. Like,
You
what
got the
exactly do you got?
McDouble? What you
Yeah.
got? What you got? Shoot. Like, and that's where she went wrong, Cleo. Right?
Mhm.
And I think she put all her egg in one basket with her, and she didn't have any control over the situation. You could have joined her on the tour. That was a point that you brought up,
Mhm.
was that she could have joined her on the tour at a different part and just did it her own way. There could have been so many things that could have happened.
Yeah, she
You know
didn't
what I
need
mean?
to. The minute Ice Spice said jump, she didn't have to jump.
And
If she
she
didn't think
jumped
she
too
could
damn
jump correct.
high. And when she jumped, okay, she didn't understand that it's a far way the hell down. It's a far way the hell down. This girl has you on the street, taking up your own bags in the rain. She has you, sharing dressing room with her. She has you sharing hotel room with her. Okay, like at one point I was like, girl, you're expecting too much on this damn trip. Like if it were me, I gotta have my own. I'm sorry. I gotta be able to have my own hotel room so when you piss me off, I can go sit in my
Yeah,
hotel room
exactly. And
alone.
that was, and definitely you knew that
Okay.
was going to happen, and it happened right away, real quick.
Real quick. And now you're all the way in Timbuktu, okay, on this bus that you keep calling a slave ship. Like girl. Okay, girl.
Just too much.
Okay, I can't
So
with you. Like
I
I,
mean,
I understand it wasn't nice. It shouldn't have happened, but it
mhm.
did. And I think you should learn from this, grow from this, and never do it again. If it ain't your tour, don't go on it. You know what I'm saying? If you like,
Mhm.
and when I say that, what I mean is you could be a performer on other people's tour, but have your own way, have your own investment in the tour. Nobody can tell you where you're gonna sleep on the bus. Nobody's gonna tell you that you don't get to have your bags put on the damn
Yeah, it's
bus.
because you have agreements already. So that's the thing.
Exactly. Make it your tour too. Like, don't
Mhm.
just. She sat around. She expected too damn much, if you
Yeah,
ask me.
true. I agree. That's another part where I was kind of side eyeing Cleopatra. She didn't deserve this, but also she was expected. She did have some expectations that she needed. If those were your expectations, you needed to say
You
that
should have said them. You should have
because
talked
now you're
about
left
them.
looking kind of goofy.
You use the goofy because guess what? You're the one stopping to take pictures with fans while you have to load up the bus with your own damn bag. Okay? Yeah, you looking goofy. You
Mm.
sure are. And
So
so take it and run with it. Like learn from this.
well, what I got out of this is I learned about Cleotrapa. I didn't,
Yeah,
to be
me
honest, I
too.
was not. She was not on my
No,
radar. I
no.
saw some other videos that she's done. I'm like, oh, I've seen her before, but I did not know she was a rapper. I just thought that she was like some TikToker or something. Um, so I don't know. Hopefully, they both learned a lesson out of this.
Please.
Please. So we'll. I think that's all I had to say on that.
Yes, okay. Well, then, you know what? We're going to move on into the workouts before we wrap up this show. So,
Mm-hmm.
the workout session now. This is where we work out our hearts and our mental fitness. We do deep dive discussions on topics that are affecting our community or in general. And so,
Mm.
one of those topics, as of late, there's been this upward discussion about the Cam Newton video clip. Lord
Woo.
God. Okay, so let's get into this because honestly, these men, like, I just can't. Okay, so Cam Newton, football player, everybody knows who he
Mhm.
is. He's very successful, and he has retired
Yeah.
since from the football game, and now he's in the podcasting arena, and
Yeah.
so he has this show called Funky Fridays, and he pulls on different celebrities,
Yeah.
some sports related and some
Yep.
not. And so in this case, he decided to bring um, this doctor. And she, honestly, she read him for the filth. She read him up, down, all around, and twice on Sunday. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant.
Mhm.
And this woman, she was able to humble Cam real quick. And it was fantastic to see. You could see how he was squirming in his seat.
He was squirming. He
He
tried.
was squirming, and he didn't like what she had to say. And one of the things that they talked about uh, was, he said that, he started it. He said very, 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 he was very, but he felt very proud of himself.
Mhm.
And he pointed out that, people do say that he does not function at a high level, and that he's not a high functioning man. And she was like, okay, well, let's talk about that. Like, why do you say that? And so he goes on to discuss that he's not married, and that he has 8 children. He's
Mhm.
35,
Mhm.
35 with 8 children. Okay, now two of those children, from my understanding, are not his biological children.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
However, he has six,
Mhm.
35. Okay, so anyhow, we're just putting numbers in perspective here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Mhm.
six damn children, and he wants more. So he goes on to say that he has three different baby mothers, mother of his children. And she's like, "Oh, okay, wow. Didn't do my research. I thought you only had four, but okay, you have eight." And then he goes on with his big bright self and says, "You know, I fear divorce. I'm paraphrasing here.
Mhm.
I fear divorce more than I actually want to get married,
Yes.
and so I want more children." And so the doctor says, "So hold on a sec. So what's the game plan? Like, what's the end goal here, or how do you plan on achieving this?" Right? He's like, "Oh, I just want God to bring them." Like a damn fool. Anyhow, so she's like, "Okay." So now she's starting to size up who she's actually working with here.
Mhm.
And he goes in to say, quite content with himself. Well, as you've said, doctor,
Mhm.
I'm just taking my time. And she's like, "No, you're not. You're not taking your time at all. You are being actively um pursuing, and broken families, broken households. So what are
Mhm.
you talking about?" So this is paraphrasing. So as
Yes.
we go in to what Dr. Bryant said specifically, was that she addressed the fact that it is a low functioning behavior for a man to create households, put children and beautiful women in them, and keep it pushing on to the next, and not
Mm.
actually have a home, and to decide to be actively where he's going to put his attention and his time and his due. And that could be spread amongst wherever, that he is compartmentalizing each one of his relationships and his children, and it never works, and that he is being quite selfish with, because you're afraid of divorce, you don't want to actually build a home, so you're going to continue to build broken households,
Mhm.
and you're looking for the next victim. So she put him in check real fast, and we know that he's not the only one out here in these streets. We know that Nick Cannon, and I'm sorry, I know I've had my foot on Nick Cannon's neck from get
Yeah.
go. You could go back how many damn years I've had my foot steady on Nick Cannon's neck, because I think that he is the prime example of this nonsense.
Yeah.
And we see that Dr. Bryant also had an interview type setting with Nick Cannon, and she addressed the exact same issues that he is doing. However, Nick Cannon, he gave some insight where he thinks that he has to kind of prey on not low functioning women in order to get what he wants, in order to get what he wants to do, who he wants to do, what he wants to do. If you don't agree with him, he just pushes off and moves on to the
Yeah.
next.
Yeah.
um and so we see that these two men are what most people would call
High value.
high value men. Okay, well, we're not talking about value. We're talking about functionality.
Functionality. Hmm.
Okay? And we can look at these two men and see how dysfunctional that they are. Right?
Mm.
And so, with all that said, what are you thinking about this Cam? This Cam, put Cam in his damn place quick fast.
I
What do you
think
think
that
about this?
well, first I'll say that
Mm-hmm.
I will commend him for he it does take a certain level, or maybe he was copying Nick, but I do think it takes a certain level of hoopsda,
Right?
some testicular strength, some balls, if you may,
Right?
to bring this woman who can hold her own, and she did on Nick Cannon, and
Sure
like I think
did.
because she was on Nick Cannon first, and
Yep.
so he knew what I think he had an idea of what he was getting himself into.
Yep.
I think for the most part he had an idea. So for even himself to challenge that and bring her on the show and
Right?
allow her room to speak, he didn't interrupt her. He was uncomfortable, and I
Very.
think he did have a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of backlash after seeing the way the internet reacted. But I think he held himself. He was very mature, and in the fact that he listened, not that listened that he's
Yes.
going to do anything about it, but he didn't. You know what I mean? He
He
let her
tried.
speak.
He tried.
He let
Yeah.
her speak. He let her speak.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, a lot of these ignorant, like I talk to these people with mics, these podcasts, people on
Right.
mics, the gender wars and all that nonsense. I could have seen this going left real easy with a more
Right.
an ignorant person, and or a less well-intentioned person. So
Right.
I think he knew what he was getting when he brought her on the show, and I would
Right.
commend him for even putting himself in that situation in terms of like I think he had to know a part of him had to know he was gonna get a reality check in this when with this woman on his show, this doctor on his
I
show.
really think that he did not think so.
Really?
I think
Because she
he was quite content. He thought he had her.
oh really?
It seemed like. But she checked him real quick and said,
Yeah, because I
"Actually,
think if
no."
he saw her on Nick Cannon, he should know what he should have expected at least 80% of what he got.
Yes, he should have. He sure should have. Yeah.
So that's what I'll give him,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I do think this is a mature conversation that
It
I'm
is.
surprised that somebody with his life would invite on his show.
Right. I
So
agree.
I'm glad that he gave her that platform, because I'm sure a lot of people who didn't know her, she's on a reality show. I didn't know her until I saw this
Me
viral clip
too.
of her
Yeah.
talking about being a low function person. Anyway, so first to that, I'll give him that. Second, for me, listening to that's just common sense. I didn't hear anything unusual. I think the other clip that didn't go viral that I'm more
Mhm.
interested in, because again, what she said, that clip that you described,
Mhm.
for me as somebody who's mature and not and thinking and how people relate to each other in relationships, yeah, that's like common sense. It's not common for somebody like Cam Newton or
Right.
other athletes or maybe artists,
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
spoiled. But what I appreciate, I don't know if she went in more into it, but because she was talking to a man. But
Mhm.
I think it's also a message for women. I want to pull out the message for women
That's
here,
right.
because men can only do this if a women allow them to.
Mhm.
If you allow
Mhm.
yourself to be used as a vessel for his seed, then and that's it, that's all you want, and you get some chump change thrown your
Mhm.
way every month,
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
your choice. That's
Mhm.
fine. That's your value. That's a value you put on yourself. So there's
And
nothing to say.
who am I to
But
tell you
if you,
different?
I can't, I can't tell you any different. But as a woman,
Exactly.
if you think you have a high value and you want to put
Right?
a high value on yourself as a woman,
Okay.
you don't become a baby mother for a
No.
man of any financial status,
None.
because you're not getting, where do you stand in the equation. Again, you have to show your value
Exactly. Exactly.
or have value for yourself. If
Exactly. I agree.
whatever you deem that value to be, I can't tell you what that is. So that's more what I kind of want to flesh out there, is that he made a comment and said, I can meet any woman and transform her into what I
Okay.
want. Women think the difference between men and women think they can change a man. Women think they can change a man and make him want to get married or be faithful, blah, blah, blah,
Okay.
blah. And he says, like, but it doesn't work that way. Me, I can take a woman off the street and transform her into what I want. That's what he said.
Yep, you sure did. Yep.
And Dr. Bryant said, hold on
No.
one second. Hold on a second here. No, that's not what's happening. When you think you're doing that, that's not what's happening.
Exactly. Exactly.
A woman, and it's so funny, she used the word submit,
That's
because
right.
Cam Newton's current baby mother, Jasmine,
Stupid.
known as Jazzy on Instagram, she's constantly going on these interviews, and when they're asking about her relationship, talking about being submissive and submitting and doing catering to her man and da 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 da. Yes, she's decided to submit because she thinks there's something in her eyes, she has found her perfect partner. And
Or
so
at least the
she,
perfect bank account. You know,
yes, so she's going to bend
mhm.
herself into a pretzel and
That's
say
right.
she's quote unquote submitting,
That's right.
because, and catering to her man, because she loves him so much. She always says that, but I don't know if she ever talks about how he loves her. I don't know if I've heard that.
Well, I mean, we can see that he doesn't really love her that much because he's already talking about having another baby and
Not
didn't
equating that baby
mention
with her.
her.
And she just had a baby, a second baby for
Yeah,
real.
you see? All right. So, with that being said, like, you have to say to yourself, this girl is going on the internet. She went from, accusing everybody and their mother to being a pick me,
Oh, right? Yeah,
to
I
now
shared
being
that.
a pick me. Okay, and it's because they are confusing high functional with high value. And
Mm-hmm.
his high value, yes, he has a lot of money. He has a lot of money, but for me, if I'm going to think about having a child, knowing that you have five other children, right? You need to be a high functional man and not necessarily high value.
Hmm.
Because I want to know that the child I'm going to have with you, that you're going to be able to take care of that child.
Not
Now,
just financially.
financially, he could take care of that child, but we all know, time and time again, it's been proven that financial is not the primary of taking care of a child. Are you going to be there when they scrape their knee? Are you going to be there when they have a recital? Are you going to be there to tuck them in at night? Are you going to be there to sit down at dinner?
Are you gonna have a conversation with them when they
Thank
come
you.
back from
Do you
school?
know them?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right? Okay. And so we already, even people who have children in the same household, mom and dad in the same household, when you have multiple children, five and six of them, it's hard already. It's already hard trying to know
Mm.
each one of these children.
Yeah, and the same
Okay.
household.
And having a whole relationship with these children. Lord Jesus, this man is all about the place. You have four over here, five over here with this one over here with that one, another one, and you actually want more. Now you think that your parenting is the extent of how much money you can fork out.
Mm.
Okay. And children are expensive. They are expensive. So I don't know how much money we were trying to figure out how much he's actually worth.
Mhm.
And, Google says 75 mil. We don't know
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah, I don't
But
know about that.
but you popping out children left, right, and damn center, that might not be the case anymore.
No.
Okay. And do you have long term care for them, such as university, such as, you know, helping them with their first home? Do you have all that cut? Like, do you? Because you just want to have a whole village of children.
Yeah, sounds like it. Well,
Okay.
I have a story to share on that.
Yeah.
Personal.
Mm-hmm.
So that could add context to that broken home, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, you might financially be there, you might show up to a recital or two, great, you showed up, right? But knowing your child, having a conversation with
That's
them,
right.
and you have stories where, there's men who have children in different households. Like my dad is an example of that. He has children with different households, and they are in Africa, but they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And the relation, and I've heard this with all my other friends who have dads who have multiple households, children in multiple households. The household that he's in the longest,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is, wherever that ends up in the equation,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the first one or the last one or the one in the between,
Yeah.
that's the closest relationship he's going to have with his children. Those children are likely going to be closer to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know for a fact the relationship I have with my father is different than the relationship he has with his children that grew up in Ghana,
And it's
because
going to be.
it's just going to be.
That's just like, I don't understand what Cam he's getting all hot and heated for. She's talking the truth.
Hmm.
You could call it whatever you like, okay? But the reality is that you are not on a full-time basis in that home with that child. Both parents, he a lot of people after this interview wanted to say, "Oh, he has this how many kids living with
Doesn't,
him and
yeah.
blase blase." No, because if the mother doesn't live there, it's a like it's
Yeah,
broken.
their mother,
Period.
yeah, exactly. There you go. Unless you have a compound and everybody's all living in one polyamorous
And
situation,
look at Sister Wives the other day. Every one of them is across the whole United States. They all broke up and went all sorts of different ways.
right?
They're not even on the show. It doesn't work because the interest of one person
Hmm.
becomes the life of everybody else. And that's why she's saying you can't uh com-
Compartmentalize.
thank you. You
Mhm.
cannot do that and it be successful because everybody is going to lose.
Mhm.
Even you. So
Yeah,
even
even
you're
you.
going to lose. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying that he doesn't try.
Yeah,
He
I'm sure he
probably
tried.
really tries to be there for his children. But one aspect of this that I did want to mention and I wanted to talk about was Cam Newton has come from an entirely different family setting.
Mhm.
So my question is, are you doing this just because you have narcissistic tendencies and you just want to see a lot of your own little seeds running around the place and
That's what
have
it
no
sounds
care
like.
in the world for as to how they're going to feel down the road? Or or is this a rebellion? Like what is this? Because this is not what would be familiar to you. Like what the benefit of having both your mother and father in the house. You saw. This is why you are the $75 million man now. This is why you have women lining up to be baby mother number 3. This damn comedian girl going all around the damn place feel like it's the talk of the show that she's baby mother number 3, that she lined up for this shit. Listen, okay, listen, stop with this. What was why are you doing this, Cam? Like, you see what the benefit of having two parents in the household was, so how could you not see what the
I think it comes
disadvantage would be?
across. I think it comes across where, remember, he was in the NFL. The NFL has made a lot of millionaires out of people who would not likely not be millionaires if it wasn't for professional football. And with being not only the money but the notoriety of being like, because America football is a pillar of like we were talking about pillars of American culture.
Right.
Football is definitely up there,
Right.
right? And so he's like treated like a god. He's become like a god, literally.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a big name, and he was a big name. He was a quarterback. He was
Yeah.
the equivalent of, that's like the biggest star on the team.
Yeah, no, he's a huge name. Yeah, I know.
And
And he
and
was a
and
huge deal. Yeah, I
he was
know.
like, yeah, exactly. And during his time, and so I think you lose perspective no matter what your foundation is. Any We talk about this with musicians, you lose a sense of reality when you're put on a pedestal, right?
It's
And
true.
I think to your point where, oh, he wants to have a bunch of little mini me's because he has, it is a narcissistic value, because you just want them, you see them as an extension of yourself, you don't see them as people. They're just an
Exactly.
extension of you. And I think that's what it is. And I think he came from a very Christian home, a two-parent home and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
he's lost that along the way. In He lost that, I think, when he went and hit to the NFL, period, point blank. He didn't have the strength to fight. Not only, like, listen, as a young man, you don't even have the tools to deal with that. Women are throwing
Right?
themselves at you, right? But after a while, I would think you'd get the game. You know what I mean? And search for yourself to be a stronger man, to resist, to resist the base temptations. There's nothing wrong with wanting partnership and family, but like, don't be so careless. Like you said, that's where the low function comes in. It's like you're being very careless with these lives.
Yes, but like Dr. Brent said, but very intentional.
Yeah, because right, it's almost like you purposely, you see something in this, but it's not. So that's when it comes down to looking inward. And if he were to say, if for whatever reason, I don't know if this is going to happen, but if he were to say, I want to look into myself, I want to be, if I'm going to be a father, better, I want to be a better father to my children now before making more, that would be the grown up thing to do. I
That
don't know
would
if
be
that.
the right thing to do. That would be you thinking outside of yourself
Mhm.
and for these children that you are going to create, because you are going to create a broken home. And I can speak from experience that, my daughter's father, she wasn't even a week and he said, I can't do this. And he wanted to go about his way. And
Wow.
I know that it was very difficult for me to
Well,
even wrap my brain around. And I was a grown ass woman at that point,
and hormones are probably still kicking
right?
around. That's crazy.
And so I think how difficult it was for me. And then I
Mm,
wonder, how difficult is it for my child? Because she
yeah.
doesn't have daddy in the home.
Mm,
She doesn't have him reading her bedtime stories or coming to her recitals, or, unfortunately, the father of my child is he's an idiot. And
yeah.
so he would rather miss on all of the monumental moments in my child's life for his own selfish reasons.
Mm,
And so I feel like this it triggers me, because
mm,
it's like, Cam, do you realize you're creating a human being? Like, I
yeah.
don't think it comes into perspective until you actually have that human being stare
Yeah.
you in the face and
Mm,
question your life decisions.
right? That's when it's gonna hit him.
Right? Because that's when you'll dawn on you, like, oh shit, like I created a full human who has to, be a part of the of life of the world, and so, Cam, I think you're doing some serious damage. And I think Nick Cannon and all the men that are like you, that think that just because you're a high value man, that you can just create lives, half broken lives, and just continue to do it over and over again. And us as the black community, we're not supposed to say anything to you, because when this woman who, I'm sorry to say, but she had to stroke your ego.
She
she,
did.
she was stroking your damn
You.
ego like you were a cat on her leg,
Yep.
okay?
She had to give it to you.
All right, she was stroking your ego, but she was still telling you the truth. But the simple fact that she had to stroke it so hard and you sat there steaming, your mouth screwed up, all such that thing, your legs uncrossed, your body language is off, Cam. Usually them legs is tight. Okay, they're tight together usually.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's funny. Yeah.
but he had to let things swing this time because he was heated, and you could tell he was heated, and you could also tell that he was not receiving the information, and you could
Hmm.
also tell that he was trying to afterward come and attack the doctor. But she
Hmm.
handled him well because she's a professional.
Yeah.
And she too has her own standards. And unfortunately, Cam, she's not one of those women that you are low functioning that you
Mm,
could bag and have another child with. She
mm,
ain't up for that game. And that might be a hard pill to swallow for such a pretty, smart, independent woman.
hmm.
It might be. That's what it looked like,
Yeah.
but all in all, I what I hope is received by people who are watching this and having the conversation is that broken homes can, not always, but can create a broken person.
Mm,
And we have to think about that young person, that little being who will eventually turn and ask you, Daddy, why? And by the way, I'm going to do it better than you,
hmm.
because they've had to live through that. How are you going to look, Cam? How are you going to look at your baby in their face when they're grown and explain why you provided them a broken home, yet you yourself didn't come from one? How are you going to explain that? How are you going to explain to them? So you don't know what it's like to be from a broken home because you didn't come from a broken home, but you created one and put me in it. So
On purpose.
on purpose. And like the doctor said, you're looking for the next victim,
Mm.
not even
The
the
next,
one you just had a baby with.
another one.
Another one.
Another low function. A matching
Jesus.
low function.
I,
Ladies,
hey.
know your value and your function.
And yes,
That's
and
it.
I do want to say I agree with you on that. And ladies, if you're listen now, we're not talking about a Nick Cannon, because in Nick Cannon's interview, what he was saying, he specifically praised on low functioning women. He's a flippin' weirdo. He goes out of his way to look for low functioning women and praise on them. He even said in the interview, I will tell them what I have to get what I want. That's what he said
Mm.
out of his own mouth.
Mm-mm.
So any woman hereafter, understand you are the prey and you are low functioning. So, with Cam on the other hand, okay, he don't care if you're functioning or not,
He's gonna mold you.
right? Mr. Man and Dr. Brian, she's like, you're not God. You can't mold people. It's a woman who is going to allow you to. So as women, we have to up the level of functionality here. We have to up the level because he can't talk to a Dr. Bryant. You think Cam could talk to a Dr. Listen, neither one of these fools could even approach a Dr. Bryant because she's so functioning, so high functioning, and has done the work that she needed to do to value herself high. And so they can't even approach a girl like her. So therefore, us women, we need to up the functioning level so that we don't fall prey to people like Cam and Nick Cannon and the whole brood of them. Okay, because they're out here. They're out here and they are looking for prey. And so with that said, we're going to wrap this up because Cam, listen, I don't know what you need I don't know. Cam, stop having children, please. Please just stop having children until you know what you're doing with yourself. And in the meantime, in between time, we do hope that your hearts and minds were activated on this week's show. So whether you lead with your heart or your mind, please stay passionate and thoughtful. And we'll talk to y'all real soon. Bye.
Bye.